Good afternoon. Thank you, MAS, for inviting me to be here. I'm really pleased to present after that really informative panel discussion. A couple of things struck me. One, Ben Wellington was talking about have and have-nots in terms of data access. And here at Localize.city, we're making data useful and usable to everybody. And Chris Wong and his team, they're doing great things. And he mentioned this idea of this last mile of data. And that's something that we're doing. We're putting it in the hands of average people and making it really easy to understand. So I'll take you through. So here, let's say we have a bowl of raw open data, and we want to make a beautiful cake. So I'm going to pull back the curtain. This is what it looks like in the kitchen. These are the ingredients, right? Okay, we have NYPD data, HPD, DOB, 311. It's not very pretty. It's pretty messy. It doesn't mean anything until you have the right recipe to put it all together and process it and make it into something digestible. And even for a lot of people in this audience, I know you have a lot of expertise and you may be familiar with these data sets, but just the raw ingredients alone, it's not going to tell you that much. And definitely for the average person, it's illegible for most people. And fundamentally, the average person wants to know what's going on here, what's happening beyond the data or what agency the data comes from. People just want to know what's the story, what's happening on my block, in my neighborhood, what's happening in my building. And so that's where we come in, Localize.city. We are the interface for new knowledge, and we're telling the stories for every address and for every resident, and it's free. It will always be free. That's very important to us. So right now, if you don't have your phone out, if you're not live tweeting this summit, please take out your phone. I invite you to look up the address we have here, 180 West Street in Greenpoint, or you can look up your own home and play around with the website. This is just a sample of a few of the insights. I mean, we have about 30 insights for this one address. And one example, we talk about this area as being bike-friendly. And to do that, there's a lot that goes into that recipe, right? We look at bike lanes, but not just, are there bike lanes? We look at, are there a lot of cars blocking the bike lanes? We look at, are the bike lanes used? Do a lot of cyclists use them because they're safety in numbers? We look at cyclist commuting demographic data. We look at access to city bike, and not just, is there a city bike station nearby, but what is the quality of that access? What's the likelihood that I'll actually get a city bike when I want to ride? So it's a lot. It's a lot that goes into a recipe from different data sets that we are pulling to create this story. And how do we do it? It is not easy. It's complicated work. We have a great team of data scientists, of urban planners, of cartographers, and we have what's called an insight engine. And we use AI to help create a story for every single address in the city. And we do it in real time as the data is updated, so is our website. And the end result is a unique story for every address. And it's clear, it's concise, and it's beautiful. It's told in a visual way as well. And we are constantly deepening the insights. We are constantly updating the insights. And today, we are unveiling a new insight. It's in the spirit of MAS and MAS's legacy and advocacy around this issue of shade. We have a new insight that we're unveiling today about sunlight and shadows. And we have a lot more tools now than the days of going out with the black umbrellas into Central Park to show the shadows. A lot of people here might recognize this image. This is from the 2013 MAS report on the accidental skyline when they were looking at the super tall buildings and the shadows in Central Park. And so what we've done is an analysis for every single building in the city. We will tell you about the sunlight and the shadows. And we will tell you what kind of sunlight every building gets throughout the day, throughout the year. So thank you. Yeah, it was a big project, and why did we do it? So I think that a lot of us care a lot about access to sunlight, and sunlight, I know I do. I lived in a north-facing apartment for many years, and a few years ago when we were moving, I remember my husband, he's an urban planner, and so he would actually model the sunlight. He would simulate how much sun when it was going to come in, right? Like that's how we would spend our Saturday night, playing with SketchUp. But this is true. Yeah, are you an urban planner? So, but you should not have to be married to an urban planner or an architect to have access to this kind of knowledge, right? It should be accessible to everyone, and that's what we at Localize.city have done. We have made this information easy to access, easy to understand. I would have saved a lot of time. I could have just typed in an address and gotten a full, like a sunlight profile of a building. And obviously it's not easy work. We have GIS specialists who have looked at elevation models, 3D renderings of every building, the arc of the sun, and it took a tremendous amount of data processing. But equally as difficult is then taking that information and translating it so it's easy to understand, so you know what it means for you. And that's a big part of this is, again, we're telling you what the story is, what's happening here. We're telling that to you in terms of sunlight. We're telling that to you in terms of other things. And the next level we'll be doing is new construction and sunlight, how it will affect buildings. So it's a lot. And while we tell the micro stories for every address, we also want to tell the macro stories using the data, stories that affect the city-wide issue. And we share that information with the media, and again, because it's important for us to broaden the access to this new knowledge that we are creating. And since we launched in April, and since then, we have been a source for nearly 300 articles, which is pretty impressive. So we are quickly becoming a very prolific source. And here is a report that we did that's near and dear to my heart. We looked at dangerous intersections near schools. We found the intersections that had the highest crash rates for pedestrians and cyclists within 500 feet of schools. And this got a lot of media attention. Parents responded, organized, advocated. The DOT took notice, and we were pleased to see that. And then, when Albany did not renew the speed camera program in New York City, when that happened, we were able to go back to our data and build on that analysis and show, from a data-driven perspective, where there were holes in what they were proposing instead. And then, luckily, the city eventually did get the speed camera program. So we have it now. So that is what we are doing. We are up to a lot of exciting things at Localize, and I invite you all to check out your address if you haven't done so. And just as the city is dynamic and constantly changing, so is the website. So we have updates, and you can sign up for updates, and you will find out new things that are happening. You will find out, for instance, if there's new construction going up, or if there was, if an intersection is now dangerous. We will tell you what's going on, and we will keep you up to date. And we are also always interested in partnerships, so please feel free to come and talk to me after. I'm happy to hear from folks here. So, thank you.